Environment Committee. So we have a next agenda tonight. We have DOT China Connections. We've got a DOT, another petition for DOT to do a pedestrian study at 10th Street and Avenue C, and also we're going to be hearing from the Lower East Side developers. So we're just going to do a roll call first for the committee board meetings. My name is Rito. I'm the chair of this committee, and we'll turn it over to Nancy to do the roll call.
Vincent Serena.
Here.
Nancy Long, present. Lee Arman. Bob Marshall.
We can understand what nobody's on.
Sheldon Smith, present. Jamie Rosario.
So, I was asked about
Yes, you were actually copied on the email, I think.
All right. Okay, great, thanks. Can everyone, so this is a hybrid meeting, so we have some folks that have signed in as well. I don't know if we want to do a little mic check with them first.
Nobody is signed on, which really concerns me. Daniel, why don't you go on the website and sign on, just make sure you can get on. But this is going through the link. So Daniel had no problem getting out from the website. So, oh, we now have 4 people. We now have 4 people. 3. One of them is May. One of them is our presenter. But we do know this, the link and everything is correct.
And I guess, and then it is a mic check, so we know that they can hear us, so that's good. Okay, all right, well, we will get started with the DOT connections, and I'm not sure if it's DOT or EDT some of those.
Yes.
Yeah, you can use this.
Thank you, Susan, Vincent. My name is Gigi Lee. I am part of the Government and Community Relations team at the New York City Economic Development Corporation. And I am point on engagement and outreach for Chinatown Connections. I will be giving a very brief introduction, just to refresh everyone about the scope and history of this project. We were before you, I believe, 2 months ago, but many things happened in our lives in 2 months. And then I'll turn it over to the DOT team specifically to talk about some of the proposed changes that we would like to explore today that are on the CB3 side of Park Road. So as a quick refresher, Chinatown Connections is a state and city joint effort that originated from the Downtown Revitalization Initiative award of $20 million from the state, where there were 11 projects that were awarded that split $20 million, but 3 of them count for over half of the money. So 3 projects accounted for 11 of the $20 million. And the 3 projects were to beautify Park Row, to start a gateway in the Park Row Kinloch Square area, and then the 3rd project was a redesign of Kinloch Square. And as we were working with the state to really actualize these projects, it quickly became apparent that the transformative change that was necessary was going to require a lot more than $11 million. So fast forward, we now have an over $50 million capital project that uses that state money as well as primarily DOT capital dollars committed from the city to really transform Kinlow Square, and Park Row. And so, I think we are committed to a very transparent and engaged process. We have a working group that meets monthly, which both CD3 and CD1 are on. There's a total of 19 members ranging from nonprofits, community organizations, community boards, NYCHA representation. And then we have a subgroup also specifically working on moving forward the gateway process. But one of the things that we heard very loud and clear as we started engagement and pre-announcement was this area has really lacked investment for a long time. And while everyone is very appreciative of capital dollars, we know that the planning to use capital dollars has a very long runway. And people wanted to see, especially the residents on Park Row, wanted to see change quickly. And so the city responded by throwing in what I like to call some bonus money through their street improvement project, which is SIPs, which you will speak a little bit more in detail, but they are temporary, and so therefore a non-capital, so they're expense dollars that can be utilized right away. There's a limited toolkit, but can have a large amount of impact in a neighborhood, in an area, particularly one that is as challenging as Park Row. So the reason EDC is involved is that we are project managing, because we have been tasked with an extremely aggressive timeline of implementation of 5 years. And so EDC is project managing and working closely with DOT, parks, and to actualize change here. So I think we're really excited to present to you some of the changes that we hope to implement on Park Row. It has been an ask of the community for decades, and I think we're really excited that we are able to deliver some of these changes quickly. And I'll be here happy to answer any sort of larger project related questions. And you have an entire DOT team here to answer any DOT related questions. So I will pass it over.
Hi, my name is Mark Patterson. I'm with DOT's Public Realm. I'm with DOT's Public Realm. My name's Karen Patterson. I'm going to introduce the project, but I'll really be handing it over to Yue, who's the project manager for the SIP. I'm also joined by Dan from our Public Realm team and Kate from MPCO. Just to give everyone a little bit of background and also an overview. I guess late last year, the pedestrian group and public space group merged. We are now the Public Realm unit with DOT. We have a range and a wide range of scales that we work at. We work with one-day pop-up events. We partner with communities, do open streets, crossings and intersections, comprehensive planning policy for the city, and then we also have our policies.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, can I go like this? Okay, sorry. I need visual cues. So just to summarize, this is some of the types of projects that we work on. Again, like quick one-day pop-up plazas to more permanent capitally built-out projects. If you can go to the next slide, please. And then just to review, summarize what Gigi was saying, this SIP is an expense funded project. It is with our near-term materials, so interim materials like gravel, delineators, etc. This is part of the unifying Park Road connection to Chinatown, but again, it's in the near term, these are still materials. Thanks, and then I'll hand it over to you, Becky.
Can I actually borrow one of the mic so that I can move?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you for having us today, and we are excited to present to you our proposal for Park Row 7. Park Row, as you all know, is an important connector between Lower Manhattan and Chinatown. As you can see in the graphic, there are many visitors, 14 million visitors in Hawaii, and also a lot more in Chinatown. Just move this. 25.6 million in Chinatown. And we are also having a lot of visitors crossing Brooklyn Bridge. And it's very important to improve Park Row as this pedestrian and bike route connecting all the different neighborhoods in the area. And another objective of this project is to facilitate easier pedestrian access to streets and amenities within the security zone. As you know, there is Brooklyn Bridge Arches and a high school, residential buildings within the security zone, and we want to make them more accessible through our projects. We also want to enhance pedestrian safety. I will show you some safety data in later slide, but overall, St. James and Pearl Street have a lot of crash injuries, and we hope our project will help improve the safety there. And lastly, we're hoping to create welcoming gateways to Park Row and the surrounding area because it's a security zone and it's surrounded by security checkpoints, and we hope our improvements will make it more welcoming for all the street users. And this slide is a step toolkit, and again, we want to communicate that this is a temporary project and we use interim materials. And just for example, when we want to shorten the crossings or expand the pedestrian space, we use this kind of curb extensions. And in this picture, the curb extension is in paint, but sometimes we can build it out in concrete depending on the condition. And this kind of treatment improves the pedestrian experience and safety. And we will also be using wayfinding signs throughout the project to help people navigate through Park Row. And this picture shows you some security infrastructure like bollards. We will not be able to move any bollards in the project, but we will be working with PD to reorganize French barricades and concrete blocks, etc. And we will be adding bike lanes and using edge objects to keep our pedestrian space clear and to keep cars out of the painted pedestrian space. This is a map showing the scope of our project. We are looking at the area bounded by Park Row, St. James Place, Pearl Street, and Frankfurt Street, the triangle area. And as you all know, Park Row was closed after 9/11. And there are 5 bus lines serving the area. And also we are very close to 456 JZ subway lines. And these are all pedestrian generators in the area. And also there are many residential buildings and educational institutions, civic institutions in the area. And as I mentioned before, the tourist attractions such as Brooklyn Bridge and Chinatown in the neighborhood. There's also New York Presbyterian Lower Manhattan Hospital, and this all these institutions are making this area heavily used and a lot of stakeholders and interests we are coordinating with. And this map shows the crash injuries within the 5-year period between 2019 and 2023. As you can see, the most injuries occurred on St. James Place and Pearl Street, which is because these are full regular traffic compared to within the security zone. It's more closed and there are less injuries. And highlight for us is that Avenue of Finest and Pearl Street has the most injury, and we are proposing treatments to improve the safety there. Also want to highlight there are 2 severe injuries and 1 pedestrian and 1 bicyclist, and this also demonstrates the need for us to improve pedestrian and bike safety. And to summarize the recent outreach we did for the project, in summer last year, Chinatown Connections project had a virtual and in-person workshops that got feedback for the larger project. And through that process, we learned that there was general consensus for bike and pedestrian improvements on Park Road and around the security zone area. And for the street improvement project specifically, we did 2 on-street workshops on April 17th and May 4th to present the design, the proposed design of this project and get people's feedback. And through those 2 workshops, we learned that participants generally supported the proposed improvements that make the area safer and more accessible. And we also heard a lot of requests to address the conflicts between bikes and pedestrians. And people are also very interested in the Pinglaosbury design, which is not within the SIP scope, but we heard that people are interested to learn more updates. Now, we will look at the existing conditions of the project. So on this map, we have a dark khaki color representing the painted pedestrian space, the existing painted pedestrian space. And the thick green lines are the 2-way bike lane, and the thinner green lines are the 1-way bike lane. And the dark blue dots represent the existing wayfinding signs. And we have identified some issues with the existing condition, and also this is informed by the outreach we did. So on Park Road, there is a narrow pinch point near the Brooklyn Bridge off-ramp. And as you can see in the picture, there was not enough pedestrian space or bike space, and pedestrians and bikes are sharing this narrow space, and which is we heard a lot of complaints about. And at Pearl Street and Park Road, there were also a lot of police PD cars parked at the bike lane and pedestrian space. We heard that it has been improved recently, but in our design, we will have a more permanent improvement to organize this area. And on Frankfurt Street, there is a sidewalk on the north next to the fences, and if you walk there, you know that it's very narrow, and there are a lot of parked cars that's intruding the sidewalk, and there's Brooklyn Bridge columns that's in the middle of the sidewalk, making it very hard to navigate through. And this is also something we would like to address in our project. And on St. James Place, there are many long crossings, and at the Avenue of Finest, insufficient sidewalk width, and also he was using barricades to block the sidewalk. And it's also very confusing to navigate through the area. Although we have some existing wayfinding signs, if you stand at the entrance of Park Road at Frankfurt, this is what you see. And also there is a wayfinding sign pointing to the Brooklyn Bridge staircase. It's so dark and very small, so it's not serving its purpose. And on Park Road, it's a very long walk without any directions. And also at Madison Street and Avenue of Finest, there is a staircase going up to One Police Plaza and going to the municipal building, but there's no signage here, and it's a very small entrance, and it's hard for people to find it. And lastly, the gateways to the security zone are cluttered and unwelcoming. And at the entrance of Park Row and Frankfurt and Rose and Frankfurt, there's existing security infrastructure, barricades, sugar cubes that make it very unpleasant for people to use the entrance. And the Park Row and Wharves side, there is an existing bike route supposed to go through on the north curb, but it's obstructed by the security gate. So this bike route is not usable right now. And again, unwelcoming entrance on St. James and Avenue of Finest as well. So next we will present our proposal to address all the issues we identified before. So this map shows you the proposed interventions in this area, and the orange color represents the proposed painted pedestrian space, and blue is the proposed concrete, and the bright green represents the new bike lane or upgraded bike lane, and the red dots are the new signs. And I will go over each intersection to introduce the proposed changes. And before go to the intersections, we are also utilizing the YCDOT funded art program to make the gateways more inviting and more welcoming. So the YCDOT art will commission site-specific temporary art projects on up to 4 proposed SIP sites, and the RFQ to select artists was live between April 9th to May 5th, and we have received 165 submissions. And the artist selection process will be a multi-stage process, including internal DOT units and external stakeholders. And eventually the artists will be matched with the SIP sites, and we will conduct community engagements for the artists to come up with a design, and then the implementation expected in late summer and fall. And these are some examples of potential art treatment we will have for the project. So I think you might be familiar with asphalt art. You have seen those in the city, and there are also barrier beautification, which is already on Park Road, and there's a chance we can renew some of the barrier beautification. And there's fence interventions and digital illustration for signage. So we are looking at the first intersection, which is also a very major improvement. We are proposing the project at Park Road and Brantford. So in the small circle, it shows the existing condition, and the bigger circle shows the proposed condition. And for this intersection, our goal is to make it very visible that this is an entrance to a walkway and to bike lane. And to do that, we propose to expand the pedestrian space by the painted sidewalk extension, as you can see in the trouble color here. So the very narrow sidewalk on Frankfurt Street will have extension that people can use both the concrete sidewalk and the painted sidewalk. And we are also setting back the fence. As you can see, the fence line, existing fence lines here, and we will set back the fence so that there's more sidewalk space at the entrance. And also we are taking away the 21 authorized vehicle only parking spaces currently used by PD, so that we can add a bike lane, northbound bike lane, to make the connection to the existing bike lane on Park Road. And as you saw in the picture before, the French barricades and sugar cubes making it very unwelcoming to enter Park Road. So we are also working with PD to reorganize them and make it more open and accessible. At this location, we will also propose wayfinding signs to give that people direction. This is going to Brooklyn Bridge and Chinatown. And next location of our proposal is Park Road Pinch Point, which is the narrow space next to the closed Brooklyn Bridge ramp. And our proposal is to build a concrete sidewalk going into the ramp. So currently you can see in the picture, the sidewalk is very narrow and then it disappears. And with our proposal, we'll build a full-length concrete sidewalk going to the crosswalk here, so that pedestrians and bikes don't have to share the narrow space, and they will have enough space to navigate through this location. Yeah, and we are also working with PD and bridges to make this happen, and hopefully this will go through smoothly. But this is also a very complicated very complicated process. So I will talk more about it in the time race. And next on Park Road is Pearl Street, between Pearl Street and Worth Street. We are proposing the two-way bike lane on the south curb. Currently the bike route going west is on the north curb, and as I mentioned before, the bike route was blocked by PD gate. So we are proposing to add the westbound bike lane on the south curb, so that bikers will not ride on the north side of the sidewalk. And also, we know PD parked their vehicles on the stretch and often blocks the pedestrian space and bike lane. In our proposal, we find space to add 15 parking spaces for PD to use, so that everyone can have their own space and they will not obstruct the bike lane and the pedestrian space. And the end of Park Road at Worth Street, again, we are proposing a two-way bike lane on the south curb, and next to the bike lane will be a new bus boarding island, and this will help the to operate, to keep the bus stop as it is right now. And we are also proposing new public seating area at Park Row and Oliver Street next to the pizza place. This will be maintained by Chinatown Bit. And coming back to Frankfurt Street and Rose Street, this is also a major entrance to the security zone. And we are proposing again wider pedestrian space by the chocolate colored painted pedestrian space. And the northbound bike lane also starts here and keep going north. And for the existing southbound bike lane, we will upgrade the bike lane to be a protected bike lane. And again, we are working with PD to reorganize the barricades and jersey barriers so that it's more accessible for pedestrians. And also to mention, in order to upgrade the bike lane to be protected, we removed 7 authorized vehicle only parking spaces that's currently used by controllers.
Sorry, how many spaces was this? The last one?
7 parking spaces
You said it's authorized for.
for controller's office.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Where were the 20, so that's the 7 on Frankfurt. Where were the 21 that you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, 21 was also on Frankfurt on the north. And going into the security zone at Rose Street and Avenue Finance, this is right next to the Brooklyn Bridge Arches Bridge Plaza. We are proposing painted curb extensions with granite blocks as edge objects. This painted curb extensions help to shorten the crossing distance for pedestrians and also improves the visibility, because when a car parked here, it's very hard for pedestrians to see if there's a car coming. And having this larger pedestrian space improves the visibility and so that pedestrian can see the car coming and before they cross. And this is the intersection of Pearl Street and Avenue of the Finest, which is also in the safety slides, this has the most injuries. And at this intersection, we are proposing concrete curb extensions, which is safer than the painted curb extensions. And we're also proposing a concrete pedestrian island on Avenue of the Finest, and all the curb extensions, like the shaded in blue color here, helps to shorten the pedestrian crossing distance. And the less time pedestrians are exposed to traffic, the safer it is for them. So this will hopefully help to improve the safety at this intersection. And we are also proposing to remove the existing jersey barriers on the sidewalk right now. And we're talking with PD, maybe we can replace them with planters to make the entrance more welcoming. And the next intersection is at Pearl Street and St. James Place. We are proposing painted curb extensions. Again, this treatments will improve the safety by shortening the pedestrian crossing and improve the visibility. And we know that there are a lot of vehicles parking in the area, and that's why we are using a lot of planters, granite blocks as edge objects to prevent cars parking in the space. And similarly at Madison Street and St. James Place, painted curb extensions with planters as edge objects. And we also proposed this pedestrian leading pedestrian interval. That's a signal timing improvement that will give pedestrians a lead time to cross before the right turning vehicle starts. So overall, this proposal will provide a lot of benefits. It will improve pedestrian bike access to Park Row by removing a lot of barriers and like the French barricades, the parked vehicles. And it will create welcoming gateways, and for example, through the DOT art interventions. And it will improve the wayfinding by adding more visible wayfinding signs throughout the area. And it will provide safer and shorter pedestrian crossings through the curb extensions we just discussed. And since curb extensions also help to calm vehicle turns, which help to improve the safety of the intersection for all street users. And the next step, we are having ongoing community engagement and agency coordination. We're coordinating with TD and bridges. And for the implementation, we are aiming to start concrete work, parking, and signs installation in summer 2024. But we also may have a second phase of implementation in 2025, especially for this pinch point we just talked about, because it's right next to a bridge off-ramp. There's more technical details we need to go through, so this might push this part of the project into this year. And for DOT art, the design and engagement will happen in early summer this year, and implementation will be in late summer and fall this year. And that is the end of the presentation. And happy to take any questions you may have.
That's great. Well, thanks so much. And so just for everyone who's here, we're going to do the committee first. They're going to ask questions. Then we're going to open it up to the board members who are in the audience. And then we'll also take questions from the public that are also here. And just a reminder, this is a hybrid meeting, so we do have 4 attendees listening online that they'll also have time to speak as well. So I'll probably do maybe 1 or 2 folks online, do 1 or 2 folks that are in the room. We'll kind of go back and forth just to get everyone there. So just bear with us. So first committee meetings, then board members, then members of the public. So I will open it up to our committee. That's Director Solomon.
Oh, yeah, I was just wondering about the intersection at I believe Pearl Street by the Brooklyn Bridge, whether you're getting rid of the slip lanes there, because that's kind of dangerous where you have to cross like I think 3 crosswalks at once to get across. It's like a really long stretch of pedestrians.
You're talking about Frankfurt Street.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's actually not in the scope of our SIP, but we are aware that it's in another contract. And Dan might be able to speak to more, but we have a.
Yeah, you basically talking about just to the southwest of this traffic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're working with our bridges contracts, so like earlier we mentioned some of the longer term, more expensive projects, that's been included in one of those contracts, so that's not a part of this presentation today, that we can hopefully finish within a year.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank the team that's here for all the hard work. I know it's been very difficult, and very quick. I want to say in terms of, getting out. I do also want to thank and acknowledge the Deputy Mayor Joshi, Mayor, Udonis, and Ed, who's not here, who's heard from us, in terms of the additional investments in this area. It's one of the first huge investment, and so we're all very, very grateful, and I think you can tell we're all also very interested in what's gonna happen. So one, I love all of the short-term improvements that you provided here. I have a couple of questions related to it, and then I just have a comment about the longer term. In terms of, you're gonna get questions and potential pushback on the added NYPD parking, even though I think it's really, reorganizing, and so we may have to try to explain that in that manner. My one question related to the cars on Park Road is we've talked about the east side on the Chatham Green side, but I was wondering about the parked cars on the west side, the Chatham Tower side. If there's any way to potentially alleviate the congestion in terms of, the number of cars that are parked there. That's one question, but I'll pause.
I can first respond to the added parking spaces on Grove Street, that's the slide we're talking about. So we did take away a lot of parking from Frankfurt Street, and for Pinch Point also they have parked cars on the red. We're also removing 4 of them. So in working with PD, we would like to have a good relationship with them and also recognize their needs and provide what we can. And for the parking spaces here, it doesn't encroach on the bike lane itself. So we use the channelization, which are the striped space next to the median, to create the bike lane and the parking spaces. So it's not taking away any pedestrian or bike space. So I think this is a good solution to kind of satisfy the needs for multiple stakeholders, and also park cars protect bikers because it's not right next to the moving traffic, right? So yeah, I think we are liking that we have enough space to provide for everybody here. And you have a second question for
so I'm really happy to hear that the NYPD is open to replacing the Jersey barriers with the planters. And so, of course, seeing you've made so much progress with NYPD, I do want to ask if more of that can be implemented, even if it's, like at the end of 2024, 2025, especially the middle median of Park Road. Again, part of why I'm asking is obviously I want to have unification of Park Road, but it's all part of like the welcoming and making it look nicer and inviting, and having because people turn away when they see the security. And my suggestion is that we advocate and partner with Manhattan Borough President Marco Lee for the $1 million trees at least within this program. So I think with partnership and collaboration, maybe we could find more solutions to add to the program. Sorry, I know you have a huge scope. I think that's actually what I want to ask now. So for the short term, then the longer term, in terms of the Pinch Point, and I know you have potential phase 2 into 2025. I want to ask if you can, for us to think of longer term, and since you're doing potentially doing that leveling, and it's potentially part of the $4 million of the capital work, is in terms of that ramp, and there's also like dead space, if that could be also given back to the community so that we use of it, part of the ramp, moving the concrete barriers further back so that we
have more access, and then there's a dead space that's a little bit elevated.
Can you clarify which space?
It's at the end of the painted, right there. So there's a dead space. It's elevated, it's like a little hill. Yeah,
It's a TV parking space.
yeah, I know. Just asking, I think it's worthwhile to ask for that area. All right, thank you very much, and again, I really appreciate everybody's hard.
Just to clarify again, so for this H point improvement, although it might be next year, it's still SIP funded, so it will not be funded by the.
Echoing everything Nancy said, thank you. I also agree that it would be great to move those barriers of the pinch point just back a little bit towards the ramp, because that might make it easier to give the space for pedestrians and the cyclists there. Actually, because I have huge trouble. I have more pushback. Nancy and I will be out there developing. My question is about the painted curb extensions. I think I expressed this during the engagement. We have a lot of problems in our district with vehicles not respecting painted curb extensions and daylighting. And we just passed a daylighting resolution last month asking for physical barriers and clear signage at any of these types of painted gravelly stuff that we're using so often now. So I know you mentioned that there would be, but will there be some everywhere? I see like some.
Yeah, we put edge objects wherever possible, and as you can see, we don't want to put banners in the middle of the pedestrian paths, meaning that when people cross using the crosswalk,
Yeah.
we want to keep that space clear so that pedestrians
Right.
use that space. But next to the crosswalk, we can do our having 10% driving blocks
Yeah.
to keep cars away from the
Okay.
space.
I'll just say that the daylighting on Grand Street near Suffolk and Norfolk, like cars use those open spaces as an invitation to pull in. I guess it'll probably be less of a problem here, but like just because there are fewer vehicles going through this area, but especially on Frankfurt Street, it might be a problem if there isn't a ton. And like, I know we're gonna talk about this, but like, it doesn't really make sense to me why you don't paint the crosswalk all the way to the curb, like the actual curb, because cars just don't see that as crosswalk then, even though it effectively is. It's a big problem.
Yeah, so a couple of things. First of all, we are just down the street from this location, and if we find that people are using the painted curb extensions, we can come back and include more vertical elements that will just be more of a pain in the butt to do what you were talking about. And we are very self-conscious of what you're talking about, especially here with NYPD. We're proposing a minimum treatment so we can add to it later if needed, but if we don't want to overdo it if it's not. So that's one. Two, the paint curve extension is supposed to represent the new curve location. So there's a double white line, and that would be in theory, like if we were to come in with capital money and build it, that would be a predetermined where that new curve would be.
Like a raised concrete.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I just, you know, I live cars do every day and they don't obey the ground stuff. They just don't. And we know that DOT has not changed its not promulgated regulations. They've not promulgated regulations to make it actually illegal to cross the double white lines year after year has failed to do so. And so, yeah. I'm skeptical, like, so I'm saying, I'm seeing what's happening, and you will be getting emails from me if I observe problems, so.
We look forward to it.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thanks again. I echo what Nancy said it so eloquently. I know you've been working really hard on this. I just have a few questions myself. So can you just clarify the funding? I know that the larger, Kim Lau Plaza is the capital, and that's the 55 million-ish. But then there was that $4 million, and I'm just trying to understand with the SIP, what money are we spending for this
We're
work?
not.
Okay, and so is the $4 million, is that now part of the Kim Lau area, or is the $4 million like seed money for our capital project for Park Row in the future?
Yeah. So the $4 million capital allocation, which is from the state, there will be a separate engagement process on how to spend those $4 million for capital projects. We want to start this first because this is short term. And we wanted to start it as quickly as possible. So there will be a separate process on how to spend that $4 million capital.
Awesome. Okay, well, we look forward to that. That's fantastic. And then just a couple of little things here. Park Row and Frankfurt. And I'm just wondering, is there a reason why the bike lane, the two-way bike lane on Park Row is not painted green? Is that just a standard if it's between two pedestrian areas? I'm just trying to, again, as we talk about, you talked about making this more welcoming, making Park Row look very pedestrian, not police department or comptroller parking. But if that bike lane looks so vehicle oriented, and maybe that's just graphically, just wondering just the thought process.
You mean the southbound?
The double,
Park Row.
the two-way Park Row bike lane as it hits Frankfurt.
So, we're trying, green is expensive.
We're trying different color.
We're trying to find ways where we can limit the use of greens for, where it's needed most, I guess. And much of the Park Row bike lane is fairly separated from moving vehicles, especially inside the security zone, like, there's not much going on in there. So, at the most, what we could propose would be like a gateway treatment, which is what we basically do is 50 feet of green right at the entrance, and then it turns back to asphalt. We're starting to implement that in various locations throughout the city, but the old stuff is still there, and so it's sort of grandfathered in. So we're trying to find ways to be a little more budget conscious and still get the same impact.
Sure, that makes sense. Yeah, I would be for the gateway treatment. That sounds great. And then again, the bike lane along Park Row, is that going to be protected?
You mean at this, I think for the whole stretch, it's protected, yeah.
So that'd be like the Jersey barriers of some sort, or just is it? And again, I'm just thinking of vehicles wanting to park where they want to park.
So we've been spying on NYPD, and we found that much of their behavior along the Park Row bike lane is very good. So that's why we're proposing a parking protected bike lane, because we're saying if we can give them these spots, they'll use it and it'll keep the bike lane clear. So the whole length of Park Row, it varies. At some points it's existing now for parking protected bike lane. In the new location that UA had worked out, that is a future similar treatment. And then where this is on the screen now, that would be all Jersey barriers, which is what exists today. So it's a combination of all.
All right, thanks.
So,
Very quick.
go quick, Nancy, say something.
I know, I'm sorry. The island at the, in front of the pizza, I'm just letting you know, there's a lot of concern about it. I have to remind people, there's already a crosswalk, there's a light there, people should be crossing anyway. But you're gonna get some pushback on that, just letting you know. Related to the bike lanes, because Vinny just reminded me, that now you're adding the two-way on Park Row from, Kim Lau to Pearl. The motorized, they speed, and so if there's a way to potentially slow it down for people that are crossing, near Park, or at Pearl and Park Row, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay, so that's the committee. And again, just to the public, if you want to speak, we have speaker forms up here. If you want to sign into that again, Any of the board members want to speak, have any questions? Daniel? Yeah, sure.
I guess piling on NYPD again, but, and courts and whoever else is, they're securing this area. My, like, biggest concern was right there in your cover photo, which I know is existing conditions, but what is our way to stop PD from just putting, like at Kinlow and Park Road, putting a police barricade in front of, I personally have always gone through those barricades, like, even when as scary as the NYPD makes it, I know that that is my way to get up to One Center Street, or, I used to work at Gold Street for a little while. So I would cut through there all the time, but for most people, just one barricade could look intimidating or could actually block it. Because I could see them saying that the car could fit down there and then barricades. So, yeah, like what is our, how do we pull people down?
Yeah, so we actually met with Sydney several times recently, and they explained why they have that barricades at the entrance of Park Road. It's because they sometimes need to block off the area because there are protests, etc. So they they said they need barricades to be near the entrance to do that. And we understand there is a need, so our solution is to propose some locations where they can store the barricades in a more organized way instead of everywhere on the sidewalk. So we are actually in conversation with them right now with potential storage locations. And you can see on the screen here, the van has like some striped area that's just in the middle of the street, and cars are not using it, no one's using it. And we think it might be a potential, those are potential locations where they can store the barricades, because they have their operational needs, and we want to work with them to have a sustainable solution.
Thank you.
What happened?
Oh.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So there are these painted sidewalk extensions in the corner, and you said they're temporary. So is the intention to put it in the next capital funding? Or is it, or will it be there forever?
Yeah.
Or is it seen as just like a test to see if it really works? Because I think if you really want sidewalk, if you don't want cars to go there, then you build a sidewalk out, and they will never go there if they can't.
So you hit it on the head, it's all of the above. So the idea is that, we love doing the paint so that way we can make sure it does work. And if it needs to be adjusted, we can adjust it. It's much cheaper to adjust this than it is to adjust concrete or something more permanent. And then B, if we all like it, we would come back. It is intended, anytime we put down that sort of color beige, with temporary material, we are obligated to start the process for capital funding, seeking the capital funding, designing capital project, and then eventually 10 to 20 years down the road, actually building it. So yes, to all things.
And in 20 years?
Well, you never know.
20 years. That's for.
Hopefully not, but you know, there's a lot more people involved in this room.
Thanks. Anybody else on the board have anything to say? All right, community, I know I didn't get anyone signing up, so again, just making a phone call that no one else wants to speak. For the folks that are online, put your hand up and we'll make you a speaker. Just give us a second.
Someone, yeah.
That happens in that, attendance. You would need to scroll.
Oh, I see. Linda Jones.
Okay. Linda Jones, are you able to unmute yourself?
Oh,
Oh,
you know what? I need to do this.
we're gonna allow you to.
Okay, now she can speak.
All right, Linda, please go.
Thank you. That helps. Hi, yes, this is quite an improvement, I must
Okay,
say.
hold on, Linda, we're not hearing you actually in the room here.
She looks like she's unmuted.
Yeah, I see her speaking.
All right, I'm talking.
There's,
Hold on one
hold
sec.
on,
We
Linda.
have our
Yeah,
tech folks here.
We
that
can't
can-
hear them.
Linda, if you could just say hi, and just speak a little bit.
Hi,
over
yes,
there.
hi.
Yeah, we could see the caption, so we know she's speaking. Turn off, turn up the volume? Okay, whoop, did we lose it? No.
Okay, all right, we're gonna, something here very technically advanced.
Is this better?
We're gonna see if I can get you in the microphone here. All right, Linda, if you could speak.
I'm speaking. Can you hear me?
I don't know why it's so
If you
low.
can, I'm sorry, we have a technical glitch. If you can just speak the loudest, we're all gonna be able to hear you in here.
Okay, I'll do my best. I don't have a lot that I want to say, but first of all, I use this route between downtown Presbyterian and the Lower East Side. It's pretty rough, but it's better than walking on Pearl Street, which is scary because of the traffic and the Brooklyn Bridge traffic. So I'd like to say, first of all, it's a little menacing because of the police hanging around all the place. I hope that's going to end. Occasionally, they don't let me go all the way to Chatham Square. They divert me out onto Pearl Street for whatever reason they've decided to do that. I don't know how much authority they're going to have over this new route. The other menace is bicycles because we're mixing it up together and the bicycles are, they go fast. But all of this improvement that is in this proposal will fix all of these problems. So good for you. Thank you.
Okay. Very good. Thanks, Linda. And anybody else want?
Oh, that's why the volume is down. Doesn't look that way. It's no
Okay.
hands raised.
All right. Oh, you didn't hear? Okay.
Yeah, can you translate it?
Sure, and then we're gonna jump in, anybody else who have heard. So Linda was speaking about that she likes to take Park Road because Pearl Street is very dangerous crossing there with a lot of the vehicles, turning vehicles. So Park Road is just an easier way to cross. Bike lane, she's just kind of concerned with the bike lanes. It's a lot of people, bikes go fast through here. And then also that PD is a little bit like unnerving walking through here and just wondering if there was going to be less presence. I know is what we're hopeful for here. But I think that's what
Yeah, it's something.
okay. And so you're looking for a resolution from this board, is that correct? Okay. So this is a lot for us, I think, just to take all in. I know I really appreciate you coming. It's a lot of work. We're gonna take this month to kind of, soak it in. Looking at maybe a subcommittee that maybe wants to take a stab at putting a draft together of this. So we can consider this at our next board meeting in June. And then actually, look at it, try to get something going, and then kind of edit it from that. But what I'd like to do now is if we could just think of some of the largest takeaways that we would like to put in this resolution. So we're at drafting it and listen to the rest of the committee so we can kind of make that as easy as we can next month. Does that make sense? So if I'm going to pass the microphone to Lee first, if Lee has anything.
He has.
You don't? Okay. Our public member, David.
Positioning, sort of like the whole area just below
and it's great that, so I'm supporting it, but I don't have anything particular to say. The resolution.
But I can summarize it in a draft resolution. But basically, it's really part of the presentation. It's such a underinvested area. It's been completely ignored for 20 years. The demographics have completely changed. And now we're actually, addressing the pedestrians, the residents, the parents that are walking their kids on Park Row with carriages. It's dark, so I don't know, but I can add to it. But the most important thing I really want to have in the resolution is that by this investment from the city and state, we will be able to provide sustained economic revitalization for Chinatown and the Seaport. And both of those communities desperately need foot traffic, and to be able to connect our communities that was bifurcated by the closure of Park Row, by the building of the 1PP and the whole civic center. This is actually that one opportunity, that one moment in time for our community to be able to really take advantage of the visibility that was really brought forward by the New York State grant. So I'll be sure to Thanks, Nancy. Yeah, everything that she said. I'll just say that I have lived in this area for 15 years and I did not even know that you could use Park Row until Nancy told me. And it's such a shame that more New Yorkers don't know about it. And I'm hoping that as part of this street, which I suspect that we will support this plan next month and maybe just ask for a couple of speakers, but that everyone does it, publicizes this. I mean, I want people to know that this is available to them, because as Solomon said, I used to work at 85 Broad and I would always walk down Pearl Street, and walking under the bridge is such a miserable experience. It's dirty, it's scary, it's gross, you're running across to make sure that cars from two directions aren't hitting you. Especially on that once you the south side of it, because there's two directions, one's turning anyway. So I'm really excited about this, and I just hope that we do more to be welcome and inviting into both New Yorkers and visitors. Yesterday I was walking down Park Road, so I needed to go to Century 21, and a guy asked me what the big building was, and I'm like, one center. There's interest in the area, so there's people that are already there that is useful. So thank you for about this.
Yeah, I also agree with what Michelle said. I for a while didn't even know that you were allowed to walk on this street. It's not clear that this is a street that is public for people. There's no sign that says you can walk here, and it looks hostile and unwelcoming. So I didn't even know for a few years that you were. I would always just take the other detour if I needed to. I would go on either the go north on Wood Street or on Cole Street. So I think these improvements will help, and I hope that there will also be an increase in foot traffic here to show people that it is okay to walk here, and that can help create a link that's much more direct. Hopefully, people can have a link from the City Hall area to Chatham Square, because it's very close in distance, but the way to get there is really hard. And I know that there is a way we can walk through, but there's also a sidewalk where it cuts off on Park Row, and there's this tunnel that's very unwelcoming too, and there's very few people walking there right now. So I'm hoping that this project will help allow people to have more direct from the financial district.
All right, great. So thanks again. We're really, as a community, it sounds like we're pretty excited about this project. So we'll come next month. Thanks again for coming tonight. Thank you. Thanks. All right, so let's we're gonna move on. It's always nice to spend the Tuesdays with you, Kate. So we have our second agenda item, which is a request that DOT perform pedestrian safety study for intersection at 10th Street and Avenue C. And Juliet, I believe you're, thanks, and please come on up if you're okay, and you can use the microphone here.
You could, yeah.
Juliet, you can,
Wanna sit?
or you can take mine, whatever you want to do.
Okay. Hi,
Hi.
Dr. Wong, you must be Susan.
Yes, I
Nice
am.
to meet you. So
If you could actually come here so they could, see you on that way they'll see you at home.
where she was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that way you can face, they'll see you at home. Thank you.
Okay, so my name is Juliette Michelli, and I'm here because I'm a friend of Laurel Ratner, who was killed on February 5th while crossing the intersection of Avenue C and 10th Street. She was struck by a tow truck that was making a left going down Avenue C and turning on to 10th Street. A pedestrian was also there. Girl was crossing with the light. She had picked up takeout food from Ayat Restaurant on 7th Street and Avenue C, and she was on her way to my apartment at 14th and B to have dinner together, as we often do. And for anybody who wants to know this, I can report that last week the tow truck driver who claimed that he didn't see Merle pled guilty to failure to yield right of way to a pedestrian and failure to exercise due care causing serious physical injury, both misdemeanors. He'll pay a $750 fine, take a one-day class on safe driving, and have his license suspended for 6 months. Seems kind of disproportionate. But to go back to Merle, Merle had been active in peace and justice causes since she was 13 years old. When she protested the U.S. war in Vietnam. She was born in the Bronx and lived with her husband, Professor Yang No, at 4th Street and Avenue A for the past 40 years. She loved this neighborhood, its racial and ethnic diversity, its restaurants, and its rich culture. And I know that she would want, as part of her legacy, to help prevent more death and injuries at the spot where she was killed. So knowing this and with your family's support and talking with Jan, her husband, I contacted the community board and asked about whether there could be an investigation into pedestrian safety at that intersection. And Susan informed me that her preliminary inquiry had shown 10 crashes, 2 deaths, and 6 injured at the intersection over the past 5 years. So with this information, I believe it's all the more urgent that there be a full pedestrian safety study, I think is what you call it, of that intersection of Avenue C and 10th Street, so that unsafe conditions can be targeted and changed to prevent future deaths and injuries. And I fervently hope that the Transportation Committee would move this request through whatever is the proper procedure. Thank you.
Julia, thanks for coming tonight. Appreciate it.
So maybe pull up this.
Yeah, so I know, are you able
Oh.
to?
Okay, wait, I'll promote her.
So folks in the committee, I know we have a resolution that we'd like to put together in support of this. And so we can do it, pull up on the screen here, so we can kind of work together to finalize that.
Okay. Should be able to share screen now.
Okay. Now I'm blind, so I'm gonna have to read it from.
Okay.
I can't. I'm looking at this. Okay. Do you want to, maybe I'll just go through and I'll read it out loud. If it's okay with everyone here? So whereas on February 6th, 2024, Merle Ratner, an East Village resident well known for her community and social justice activism, was hit and killed by a truck at the intersection of Avenue C and East 10th Street in Community District 3, which generated calls from residents for safety measures at this intersection with a history of traffic accidents. And whereas a review of traffic accidents. And whereas a review of traffic accidents at this intersection revealed a history of being consistently dangerous for both pedestrians and motorists alike. There's been a total of 13 between March 2019 and March 2024, resulting in 10 injuries and 2 deaths due to driver inattention, distraction, and improper passing or lane usage, making it one of the most dangerous intersections in the East Village. And whereas the 2 fatalities occurred 5 months apart, 9/4/23 and 2/5/24, and highlight a pressing need for safety measures in the intersection before more collisions result in fatalities. So therefore, be it resolved that Community Board 3, Manhattan requests the DOT perform a pedestrian safety study for the intersection of East 10th Street and Avenue C to implement a pedestrian vehicle safety measures. And then we have a citation for the second whereas.
I would actually add a description of the truck. It's a tow truck. Tow trucks have a history of hitting and killing people in New York City over quite a period of time. So it's not just any truck.
Yeah. That sounds good.
Oh,
Oh, where did the mic go?
Where-
Oh, sorry.
We're hogging them.
I'm taking them.
And you see to the north is to the south, and this is also is a narrow happens. And so if you put this out, I don't know if it's going to be it, but if there's a need, we probably pass it to the city. There's a reason for probably it's not clear what it is. Actually, there is a double line bus. Space. Through, decades ago, they ripped out the top block of the buildings to reorganize the streets very well. It's at the regular street geometry at that location.
So do you think that's a separate whereas, or do you want to just include it in the first one? Separate whereas?
Maybe the further whereas would be a good place for it.
It's like an off, if I remember too, it's an off-center intersection, like the curb lines don't really align.
Center line is also not centered. So maybe if we did the study, but it would help to emphasize whereas this intersection is. So this is the regular. So I could go on, but I don't know for a fact because.
Should we take up someone, just say this?
Yeah. Yes.
First of all, I'm so sorry about losing your friend. That's really horrifying. I wish that, something had been done sooner. I apologize for that. I was just wondering if we should add in a little bit more specificity about how this was. If that makes sense. I think this is now. Kill a tow truck at the intersection of Avenue C and East, and maybe we should say like on the, it was turning a southbound tow truck. I just don't remember exactly.
I'm wondering if, because there's, I mean, this is one fatality of, there was another fatality, then there were other accidents, so I'm wondering if we maybe want to add, because I like what you're saying is DOT, like looking at police reports and incident reports and then incorporating that into the study.
Yeah.
So we just gotta get the whole, I don't know if both fatalities were the same instance in corner.
I would say whatever the reason is for the accident, that intersection is making it much easier to have the accident.
Yeah, I was just wondering if it would make sense to situate where she was in the intersection where the truck was turning. Like it was going southbound for the truck?
Yeah, I have the police one.
So that potentially limits, their study.
Yeah, we don't want to limit the study.
Well, I just in terms of like, would it be helpful for them to have the details in front of them?
They
should have it.
We got all this from the police.
Okay. Well, I will DOT have it.
Yes,
Well, that's what I was wondering, like, under there.
they have
So
that.
onto the therefore, like, when we say, you know, do a study, maybe based on police reports of the various incidents, or the many incidents.
They definitely have all this.
Yeah. Shaking your head.
We do have to.
Great. Thank you.
It's gonna show people what. So that, it actually painted, dotted lines down the middle of the intersection, so the cars can sort of visualize where they're supposed to be.
Oh, yes.
You know, so that's how they describe.
Maybe it was.
Could add to that.
Could add, the bike lanes, the bike striping is almost more confusing than anything.
Not in the middle of the intersection.
Yeah.
That's just a mess.
I like that.
So you can have that. With on either side paragraph. You could say that the 10th Street.
Right
And
after
then- oh, and
the
then-
geometry.
Center lines do not.
Inside.
Maybe part of this whereas.
Yeah, I think part of that whereas where the street geometry at the intersection is irregular and multiple on-street striping.
The double, the double yellow lines do not line up as fast as the intersection. It says the yellow lines. And DOT has painted dash lines to help cars visualize where their lane is. DOT has painted dash lines through the intersection to help vehicles visualize or drivers visualize where their lane is going. It's, once they look at it, they realize, oh yeah.
Yeah. You can save some money on that striping, probably.
It's not really.
Do you want to, where the end is, take away the period and lowercase the a? Just make that one sentence. The double yellow line does not line up as you pass the intersection. And, yeah. Is it vehicles and bicycles?
Oh.
It's both, so let's.
All lanes are straight up. So you can say, yeah, it's being dashed lines for the yellow division and.
Yeah.
It's really very complicated. And there's a double wide bus, there's a bus stop.
So,
Also the buses are turning.
Yeah.
yeah, so I think, Nancy, I think before where you have intersection to help vehicles and bicycles. Maybe vehicles, buses, and vehicles, bicycles, and buses. Get it all in there. Under that, whereas we were just working on the last sentence. Yeah, right there. And it's what, visualize? Yeah.
That's.
Going once?
You worked out that the study is the right thing to ask for. It's not like the same.
Let's ask Kate.
I think the way you have a phrase asking for a safety study would be either able to do that. I can just say for this intersection right now, we actually are already looking at studying it for a leading pedestrian approval. ago. So I think the general language you have here works and, you know, once we receive the resolution, we'll see if there's any additional, studies for improvements that we can make.
Okay. All right, so should we, do a little vote here? Everybody? We have to go through or just?
Generally call.
Let's go, okay, Lee. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
And then Jolene's absent. Is that her name?
Oh,
Jolene.
yeah, Jolene is absent.
Sean is absent.
And Sean. Okay, all right, thank you. And thank you, Julia, yes,
Thank
yeah.
you, Julia.
Condolences to you and really appreciate your advocacy.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you. All right, our next order of business is Lower East Side Ecology Center, and I believe we have Christine here tonight to speak on behalf of that organization. And are you okay using a microphone, or would you like one of these?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Well, yeah, thank you for putting this issue on the agenda, and actually I'm here really to talk on behalf of community-based composting in New York City. We are part of that. We started that here in the Lower East Side in 1990. And you're probably aware of the PEGs that happened last year in November, which eliminated this program that the city has invested over 30 years in. And again, you know, Lower East Side was in a way the birthplace of all of that. And it's a very important program because it really addresses climate change, and it allows people to really take action and do something positive with their waste. To just explain what community-based composting is, it's really collecting food scraps from people, then turning it into soil amendment, and then using that soil amendment right here in the neighborhood, providing free compost to community gardens, to use the material to do street tree care, and to also provide it to the Parks Department. And we believe that it is an important program that should continue. It creates community cohesion, it builds community, and it will also, in the long run, really help the city achieve ambitious goals like composting or providing access to composting and to food collection citywide, because just giving people a brown bin and saying, now you can compost, that's not going to work. We really need on the ground community-based programs that can engage people and that can sort of win the hearts of New Yorkers that are not convinced yet to participate in that. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Yeah, I would actually agree with you. I think it is important because I think that's where it's come from. It's right. It's sanitation, I believe, is rolling out the city initiated the brown bins and all that, and so they're looking at cutting these community-based programs that were funded through the city. And I like what you kind of said was that the on the ground boots is still needed to get people to actually get those bins on their counters and get them in the receptacles or actually do it in their buildings and that type of thing. So that advocacy, I think, makes a lot of sense. Would you just clarify too, just the funding for, and I know Lower East Side Ecology is where you are, but other neighborhood composting, or there's most of their funding coming through the city, or is there some other type of funding that's available? Is that? I think you lost your microphone, sorry.
Yes, so this project funded for the botanical gardens in these composting outfits, because the voice of politics and the use it means and personality on the side. And then literally nobody find out well, yeah, I can also just stand there.
That'd be great, thank you. And sorry, folks are on the line, I didn't hear.
Yeah, so the funding that we lost last year
due to the PEGs, really funded the 4 botanic gardens. And then also 3 community-based organizations that do composting. So it was a citywide program.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Okay.
I think I don't know if Catherine has one.
Oh, hold on one second, we've got some here.
I just want actually to thank your organization for all the work that you're doing, and your support for Gotham Park in terms of, participating in the community block party and giving away and really educating. So I'm fully supportive of this because I feel like it continues to educate our community, through the work that you do with the advocacy. So I just wanted to thank your organization.
Yeah, no, it was our pleasure and always up to come out to block parties in the neighborhood. And again, funding this program will just allow us to have so much more capacity to do such engagement in the community.
Thank you. Right, anybody on the board have any questions? I know Dan, you're here. Gotta use your microphone.
Yeah.
Oh.
I just want to say, like, as my first job in the city was with the New York City Compost Project. I was at one of the botanical gardens, which of course, living on the Lower East Side connected me to the Lower East Side Ecology Center where then I worked. And it's important to still fund this compost project, both because of the outreach that they're able to do by doing the community composting connects the community with the bigger things. We would not have curbside collection if for the past 34 years, since a long time that these community organizations were doing this work. So it's important to continue the funding because a lot of the people that work in the people rolling out the curbside collection started out in the compost project. And they also organized thousands of master composters now who are out there doing everything from small composting at their community gardens to taking temporary jobs, going out and bringing the bins to people and explaining what exactly goes in them. So it's important to continue this community composting even as we roll out into curbside collection of organics.
All right, thank you. And Catherine, I think you have your hand up, so we're gonna
Right.
I get you to speak. If you can speak, I might have to do improvisation again, or
Yeah,
is it
the
gonna work?
problem is it's not connected to that. But I don't know how to do it.
So Catherine, we're gonna try to do this again, me putting a microphone up to the speaker, so if you could just speak really, really loud, and then we'll get you on here.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, we'll have to.
Well,
No,
yeah, I know
no.
I can, but
Maybe.
go ahead, I'll try to repeat.
All right, well, I'll keep it short. I just want to say, first thank Christine for all the great work that the Lower East Side Ecology Center has done, and agree with what everyone else has said, that this has been a great community asset. The community looks forward to the local composting centers, and they use it. And we've been following this on the Parks Committee with the problem with the Fireboat House and finding a headquarters for them. So just want to say, please support it, and we should look for funding and look for a permanent housing for it. That's it.
Great. Oops. Catherine.
Go ahead.
Sure, I was just gonna repeat, did everyone hear what Catherine said? Great, thanks.
Fine.
Yeah, come on up. You want to see this? Sure.
So this is quick, but I just wanted to speak to on the subject of community engagement, which both Christine and Dan mentioned. I spend a lot of time in East River Park. Sometimes people stop and ask me questions about Esper and the construction. But at the beginning of the construction, I was stopped by a neighbor who lives at the Ridge Houses, east facing, so she's got a front row seat to the demolition, the construction, everything, as many people do. Her first question was not about construction. Her first question was, when is the compost yard coming back? Because I need to drop off my food scraps and I need to get compost because it's good for my plants. That's how they grow. That's not the kind of community engagement that you get with a bid. That's just one person, one story, but that is the kind of work that the Lower East Side Ecology Center's composting project has done to engage all neighbors from all over the place, and it's everywhere, and we need to keep supporting it.
Thank you. All right, so anybody else? Let's call anybody in the committee. So I know we are would like to take a look at a resolution. We have a draft one put together. And just to kind of clarify that really what we're looking at here for tonight is just for funding. So it's not really getting into the location of Lower East Side Ecology. That is separate. That's another committee that's taking care of this. But this is really just advocating again with the city to fund compost projects throughout the city. And so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to read through and then we'll go from there. So whereas the New York City Compost Project was created by the New York City Department of Sanitation in 1993 to rebuild New York City soils by providing New Yorkers with the knowledge, skills, and opportunities needed to make and use compost locally, and implemented by DSNY funded team, including Lower East Side Ecology Center. And whereas the Lower East Side Ecology Center provides food scrap collection in CV3, as well as outreach and education, and is part of a network of 200 drop-off sites. And whereas the administration is cutting 100% of the funding for New York City Compost Project, which will result in the elimination of all community composting and outreach programs and the loss of 115 green jobs in NYC. And whereas community composting in New York City provides local compost processing capacity and is critical to education of New York City residents on the benefits and necessity of composting. And whereas community composting programs offer free finished compost to parks and community groups for local stewardship of street trees, rain gardens, and other public green spaces. So therefore, be it resolved that Manhattan Community Board 3 believes the full funding of the New York City Compost Project by Department of Sanitation is necessary for overall health of our environments, including climate adaptation and resilience.
So one of the whereas remarkably stated, this is the one that's now on top, whereas they are cutting, the administration has that power, or is it the legislature? The administration is cutting it itself.
Yeah.
And it's effective. They have done it, it's not part of the budget process.
They're going through the budget right now for July 1st, and
So this is the mayor's proposal for the budget.
Pardon?
Is it the mayor's proposal for the budget at the beginning of the cycle?
Yes, sanitation is cutting the program. They're cutting out the program.
Then should we say perhaps the administration
As proposed.
has cut 100% while in the
They are doing it for July 1st.
so it is starting July 1st. This is not.
That's correct, right, Christine? Yes, we're advocating for the FY25 budget.
So
starting July 1st. So we're advocating for July 1st.
It makes sense then what you remember.
yeah, well, I wonder, like, so should we just be specific, like, where it's the executive budget right now, because it's hasn't been passed. So should we say whereas the executive budget is proposing cutting 100%?
That's what I did.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, that's a good comment, David.
Most people know what that means, but it's true.
But it's true, right? Because I don't know, do we actually say we want to put it into the final budget? Is where
I think that's the last line.
Is it the last line?
Look at the last line. Yeah, we want full funding.
full funding, maybe we should say in fiscal year 25 and beyond.
And so who reimbursing this to? City council, because they actually write the budget and revise executive orders.
The next step is adopted, it goes to city council and then it's the adopted budget.
So is the city council reps? Where's the area of the city?
Mayor's office?
Can't hear you.
He's asking, should the council reps, because the city council could fight for this too as well.
We will send it to them. They will definitely be sent.
Any other comments? All right, let's take a vote. Start again at the end, please.
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Yes, and then we had two folks that are not in attendance, Jaylene and Sean. Right? And that's a wrap.
Yay.
Oh, and then we do roll call. Do we do the roll call? Yeah. Here.
But
Thanks, everyone.